When you hear heart-healthy eating, it can sound, well, kind of complicated, right? But it really doesn't have to be. In this explainer, we're going to break down the science into simple, doable steps you can actually start using today.
So, let's just dive right in. Could the secret to a healthier you actually be sitting in your kitchen right now? We're going to uncover some really powerful and, yeah, maybe even a few surprising foods that can make a huge difference for your heart.
And look, this is why we're even talking about this. It matters a lot. The American Heart Association tells us that more than half of all adults in the US have some form of cardiovascular disease. I mean, think about that. That is a staggering number, and it really drives home why we need to be proactive about our heart health.
All right, so here's the game plan for the next few minutes. We'll kick things off with the big picture, the why. Then, we'll get the official playbook from the experts at the American Heart Association. After that, we're going to zoom in on some specific power foods, including chocolate, you heard me right, and then we'll wrap it all up with a simple toolkit to make it all happen.
Okay, first up, the heart of the matter. Let's really get into why this conversation is just so critical right now.
So when you look at these numbers, you start to see a story, and it's all connected. Poor diet is a huge driver behind these stats. With over 40% of adults dealing with obesity and less than a quarter of us getting enough exercise, well, it's kind of the perfect storm. But here's the thing, and this is the good news. Diet is one of the biggest levers we can actually pull. It's something we have control over.
So, where do we start? Well, the great news is we don't have to guess. We've got a clear, evidence-based playbook from the real experts. Let's take a look at the official guidance from the American Heart Association.
And the big idea here, the main takeaway, is to think about your overall eating pattern, not getting hung up on single good or bad foods. The AHA makes it super simple. Balance your calories to stay at a healthy weight. You want to load up your plate with all kinds of colorful fruits and veggies. Go for whole grains instead of the super refined stuff. When it comes to protein, lean into plants, fish, and lean meats. And this is a big one. Actively swap out those saturated fats for healthier, unsaturated ones. Think olive oil and avocados. And finally, just be mindful of how much sugar, salt, and alcohol you're taking in. That's it. That's the foundation.
Okay, so we have the big picture. Now let's zoom in on some specific plant-based foods that can really power things up for your heart. We're going to start with two super easy additions that can have a major impact.
So what's the magic ingredient here? It's something called ALA, or alpha-linolenic acid. Think of it as this, hero nutrient. It's a plant-based omega-3 fatty acid, and it's fantastic for fighting inflammation and helping to keep plaque from building up in our arteries. And the two foods we're about to talk about are absolutely loaded with it. All right, first on our list is flaxseed. And listen, here is a major pro tip. You've got to go with ground flaxseed. See that tough outer shell on the whole seeds? Your body just can't break it down. So all those amazing nutrients, including that awesome ALA, they just pass right through you. Grinding them unlocks all that goodness.
And get this, the best part is you don't need a ton of it. We're talking just 1 or 2 tablespoons of ground flaxseed a day. That's it. It's super easy to toss into a smoothie, sprinkle on yogurt, or mix into your oatmeal. It's such a simple habit to get into.
Now, this next one, walnuts. And wow, just look at this data. This isn't from just one study, it's a meta-analysis, which means it's a study of studies. Super powerful stuff. And you can see it right there. Diets that included walnuts seriously lowered total cholesterol. And even better, they dropped the LDL cholesterol, what doctors often call the bad or lousy cholesterol, by over 9 points. And check out that last row. They did all this without causing any weight gain. Pretty amazing.
All right, so we've got flaxseed and walnuts, two absolute powerhouses. But what about something that feels, well, a little more like a treat? Get ready, because this is some seriously good news.
Okay, hold on. Before you raid the candy aisle, there is a catch, a big one. Not all chocolate is created equal, not even close. The health benefits really come from the cocoa, which is packed with antioxidants. So you want to be reaching for dark chocolate, and specifically the kind with 70% or more cocoa. Your standard milk chocolate or white chocolate, they're mostly sugar and just don't have those same protective effects.
And the science here is it's awesome. These powerful plant compounds in good quality dark chocolate can help dial down inflammation, support healthy blood pressure, and yes, even help lower that lousy LDL cholesterol. It's a treat that actually does something good for you.
And again, we're not talking about eating the whole bar. The sweet spot is right around 10 to 30 grams a day. To put that in perspective, that's like 1 to 3 small squares off a typical bar. It's just enough to get those benefits and satisfy a craving without going overboard.
Okay, moving on from the sweet stuff, let's talk about another absolute cornerstone of a heart-healthy diet: wild seafood. This stuff is a true nutritional powerhouse, especially when we're talking about those omega-3s.
The American Heart Association is really clear on this one. They recommend at least 2 servings of fish a week, especially fatty fish like wild salmon. Why? Because they are packed with 2 other kinds of omega-3s, called EPA and DHA. Remember that plant-based ALA from the flax and walnuts? Well, your body can convert a tiny bit of that into EPA and DHA, but honestly, it's not very efficient. Getting them straight from fish is like taking the express lane for your heart and brain health.
And it's not just what you eat, but how you cook it. And this can make a huge difference. Gentle cooking methods like steaming or poaching are fantastic for keeping those delicate omega-3s intact. In fact, steaming can preserve over 90% of the nutrients. Grilling and pan searing are great too. Just try not to add a ton of unhealthy fats in the process.
All right, we have covered a ton of ground, so let's pull it all together, okay? Let's build your heart-healthy toolkit that you can start using like today. And this right here is probably my favorite piece of advice from the American Heart Association. Strive for progress rather than perfection. It's not about being perfect 100% of the time. Who is? It's about those small, consistent steps in the right direction. Every healthy choice, every little swap is a total win.
So, here it is, your action plan, all boiled down. First, remember the big picture. Your overall eating pattern matters more than any single meal. Then, let's get specific. Add a little ground flax and a handful of walnuts to your day. Enjoy that small square of dark chocolate. Aim for those 2 servings of fish each week. And maybe the most powerful, easiest place to start? Just swap one ultra-processed thing you eat today for a real whole food. That one small change can kickstart a whole cascade of positive ones.
And that really brings us to the final and maybe most important question. It's not about a massive life overhaul tomorrow. It's just about starting. So, what's that one small, easy swap you can make today to start building a healthier heart?